Hey everybody, Tim here with another Star Wars review. We are going to start doing Droids, the animated series. So this came out in 1985, the same year as the second Ewoks movie. So I mean, like, those mid-80s years, like, they are just hammering Star Wars stuff left and right, all sorts of spin-offs. It is what it is. Like, it's not terrible, it's not great. But, I mean, I do kind of enjoy it just because I like that type of animation. From kind of the 70s to the 80s, we get stuff like Johnny Quest, Scooby-Doo, heavy metal, everything. Like, from kids to adults. So, I kind of like it. I do enjoy it. It is 7 years after the animated series, which the reason I bring that up is because the animated series did have that animated, like, mid-section, which is technically the first time we see Boba Fett. And we will see him again. So, the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to keep it pretty light and pretty quick. So, kind of like I did the Star Trek, the animated series. Like, I'm going to do multiple episodes and just kind of like an overall, this is what I think. Now, Droids is actually pretty easy because they're already basically broken up into 3 sections. And so, like, this whole first section, like the battle against the From gang, super easy. It's the first 4 episodes: The White Witch, Escape into Terror, Trigun Unleashed, and Race to the Finish. It's not bad. Like, as I was getting ready to watch it, the whole, like, intro opened, which it's the drummer from the Police, and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And as we continue, I was like, okay, so I'm digging this. And as it goes through, where we see the opening part is R2-D2 and C-3PO, which I love that C-3PO is Anthony Daniels, of course. And then, like, R2-D2 as himself. I was like, really? Okay, I see what you did there. Which, I don't know. Anthony Daniels is kind of the staple for Star Wars for me. Like, he's in all the movies and everything. And it's one of those moments where you know he's going to pass away at some point, and Star Wars is never going to go away. But they're going to release something Star Wars, and it's not going to have Anthony Daniels. It's going to have either, like, not C-3PO, or he's going to be played by somebody else, and it's just going to be like, oh, like, that's a thing now. So it's really sad that that's going to be in the future at some point. So to kind of go through, like, what is this first chapter about, these first 4 episodes, R2-D2 and C-3PO are kicked out of whoever they belong to. Now, at the time when this was created, I don't even know if they were like, this is canon, this is real. And then years later, they're like, oh, no, we were on something, we were drunk. Not a thing. So it's not canon now. It's legends. It is what it is. This clearly takes place after Revenge of the Sith, but before A New Hope. So this is before R2-D2 and C-3PO are in possession of Princess Leia. Which, I mean, realistically, like, they never left that family between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. So, I mean, this is all just kind of made up, and it is just a fun adventure. So they're kicked out from their old master, and they're looking for somebody else. They find Thal and Jord, I think is his name, and then later on Kia. And the 3 of them are, like, going out to a speeder race. And it's like, they do pull a lightsaber at one point, and it's like, even C-3PO's like, where did that come from? And it is actually pretty cool that he has this lightsaber, and no Jedi, nothing. He's just like, oh, look what I got. Boop! And then he just goes on, and we never see it again. The speeder racing scene, like, I don't know if that's, like, the beginning part of where pod racing came from, but it's kind of interesting that, like, they do race speeders. I mean, it does make sense. Episode 2 had a lot of kind of funny lines, like, I'd rather be feeding tauntauns on Hoth. They mentioned how we hate droids, which is something we saw from A New Hope, where he's like, we don't serve their kind, which, in hindsight, a lot of people have pointed out from A New Hope, and even this, like, we hate droids, could be a reference from the Clone Wars, and how droids were kind of the villain of that. Like, we were just fighting droids. So that's kind of interesting. Kia ends up being part of the rebels, and then the whole point is them stealing the Trigon. Going right into the next episode, Trigon Unleashed. It's just a prison escape. Like, this is kind of the lowest of these 4 episodes, where like Tig and Ceci, I think it was his name, the From family, basically just kidnap everybody and then they have to escape. The last part, which is probably the most interesting, like, we see a junkyard, Boba Fett pops up, which, like I said, his first appearance was an animated segment, so to see him pop up in this again was pretty interesting. He brings up Jabba the Hutt, and finally, by the time we get to the end, where Boba Fett, like, his ship is destroyed, not like his ship, but his speeder's destroyed from the race, and he's like, you know what, screw this, and he just takes the From gang to Jabba the Hutt to get his money, so now everybody's free. Well, Thal and Jord are actually like offered a brand new job, but to take it, C-3PO and R2-D2 have to have their memories wiped, so they turn down their job. And in doing so, C-3PO is like, you know what, no, they need that job. So the two of them actually run away so that their masters can have a better life. And it's actually kind of interesting that C-3PO would do that, where he'd be like, oh, like, you're willing to give up your job for us? Like, no, you go do what makes you happy. We'll find something else. And he runs away, which will take us to chapter 2 next time. But overall, for a first chapter, it's actually kind of interesting how these 4 episodes just boom, 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 just connect to each other. And I liked it more than I thought I would. I do think it's rather interesting. Like, the animation's hokey. It's 1985. It's not a big budget. Like I said, it's not Heavy Metal, where it's like they do have some money. It's more kind of like Scooby-Doo, even Star Trek the Animated Series, Batman the Animated Series, like the Adam West Batman, and stuff like that. I mean, it's the mid-'80s. They did the best that they could. I'm really kind of enjoying it, so I'm excited to see what Chapter 2 has. So I will see you guys next time for Pirates and the Prince.